If you already own a TT or triathlon bike, then you're clearly thinking about your aerodynamics and keen to shave some time off your bike splits. But you shouldn't just stop there. We have some tips and tricks to help you get that ultimate TT bike setup. The bike leg in a triathlon is very different from something like an all-out 10-mile time trial. So we certainly need to consider our hydration and where we store it all. Now, there are a ton of different places that we can store hydration on the bike. We've got on the frame, between the handlebars, on top of the handlebars, behind the saddle, and even on our back. Now, I wouldn't suggest the latter, but the others are really good options and a little dependent on the bike that you have. We really need to consider ease of access as well as the aerodynamics. And if we're truly trying to save watts and time, we want to minimize moving from the aero position every time we want to take fluid on, which is why these aero bottles between the handlebars with a straw are really the best option. And a lot of them are becoming integrated and designed nice and neatly with the frame. If you want to use a bottle on the down tube, consider using an aero bottle rather than a traditional bottle. All these little things help to reduce the air turbulence. That in turn improves the aerodynamics. Now, you may be wondering what to do in a long race. You'll need to hydrate more, and if you plan to pick up a bottle on course, you'll receive a traditional bottle like this one, which is where a cage behind the saddle comes in, like on my bike. Whoa, okay. So the cage behind the saddle allows you to hide that relatively non-aerodynamic bottle behind your own body. You can drink from here, but it is relatively hard to reach around for the bottle. So another option is to just use it as storage and backup to refill any hydration system that you have at the front of the bike. Hang on, where's the other bike gone? You put a ton of time and effort into your training to improve your power on the bike, so don't throw some of that away due to poor bike maintenance. There are a number of moving parts on the bike that will deteriorate and get clogged up with time, and the chain is a prime example of that. They're made up of hundreds of moving parts, so they need looking after to run smoothly. A shoddy chain can actually waste anywhere around 7 to 9 watts. Over time, they pick up dirt, they dry out, and they even stretch with age. Now, the dirt could be cleaned and it could be re-lubricated to make it work more efficiently. But the stretching, however, is just part and parcel of its use, really. And it can be checked with a tool like this. And when it's had its time, it simply needs replacing. Now, other parts that will need some attention are the jockey wheels and bearings. The jockey wheels will just need cleaning and lubricating in the same way that we have with the chain. The bearings, in particular the bottom bracket bearings, are a little harder to get to, but they do deteriorate with time, especially if you've been riding in bad weather. Now, a sign that your bearings are on the way out is that they start to make a bit of noise when you rotate, or it just feels a little bit gritty. So you can maintain the bearings, but a lot of the new modern bearings just need a replacement. And in my opinion, if you're looking to save watts, a full replacement is probably the best option. Generally, these kind of bikes come with a 52 or 53 tooth large chainring, which may be plenty for some, but for others, they may want to consider increasing it. And on my own bike, I've actually switched over to a 55 tooth chainring, which personally I feel a little bit more powerful with, and I run out of gears far less. Now, you might be wondering what you do if you're racing on an undulating course or a course that includes a big hill. Well, to partner these rather large gears on the front, you can increase your gear range on the back with a cassette that has a nice variety. And using my own bike as an example again, I've opted for a 12-27 cassette, which gives me a really nice range and quite a jump to the easier gears. So should I hit a hill, I can just drop down into the small ring and up into my easier gears and get myself over the climbs. And the nice thing is, it's a lot easier to change the cassettes than it is to change the chain rings. So you can choose the correct cassette for the course profile that you have coming up. Right, the tyre is our contact point with the ground, so it's really important we consider our choice carefully. And grip tends to be the first thing that people think about with a tyre, but there's so much more to them than that. A lighter tyre reduces the rotating weight, which in turn improves the responsiveness of the bike. And to add to that, a better quality tyre tends to be more supple, which again improves the responsiveness of a bike. It's also worth considering the width of a tyre, and different widths will change the feel of a bike and even its aerodynamics. A 25mm tyre like this one will feel a little bit more comfortable than a 23, and it's actually become the choice of many pros due to research that suggests 25s have a better rolling resistance than 23s. To add to this, many wheel manufacturers are increasing their rim width of the wheels to match this slightly wider tyre choice and to improve the aerodynamics and airflow around the wheel. Moving on from the tyres onto the wheels, they're not the cheapest fix, but they certainly have a big impact on a bike's performance. Now, we all know that the deeper rims are more aerodynamic and they create less dirty air, which is why we see them on most TT bike setups. The deeper rims also had the added bonus of acting a bit like a sail in the crosswinds. As the air flows over the wheel at an angle, it can create a forward thrust effect. Then we have the disc wheel. Not only do they look good, they sound good. And in the right conditions and on the right course, they are the boss of all the wheels. They smooth the airflow better than any. And the sail effect is obviously greater. That said, they are slightly heavier, so I wouldn't recommend them for the hillier courses. Now, we could be here all day talking about TT bike tips and tricks, so I've just picked out a few of the key points that I believe have the biggest impact on bike times. But please do send in your suggestions in the comments below. And you can see more videos like this by subscribing to Global Triathlon Network for free by clicking on the globe. And to find out who we are and what we're going to be bringing you, just click down here. And to see some cool clips of me and Heather, just click down here.